Wednesday, February 24th. The time, Mr. Clerk, is 7 o'clock. Could I have declarations of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Does anyone own property here? No. Seeing none, I'll ask for an approval of the agenda. Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Marakis. Comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favour? Opposed? That carries, Mr. Clerk. I'll begin by a meeting statement. It takes a few minutes. Welcome to the Aurora's public planning meeting. The purpose of this public meeting is to inform the public and obtain public input regarding a proposed official plan amendment and proposed zoning bylaw amendments. No decision on the applications will be made tonight. For each planning application that will be considered by Council tonight, the following process will occur. 1. Town planning staff will outline the purpose of the planning application being considered. 2. Then the applicant will be given an opportunity to make a presentation and address issues raised in the staff report or public concerns already filed. 3. Following these presentations, members of the public will be invited to offer their comments or concerns respecting the proposal. And finally, either the town staff or the applicant will answer your questions. I will keep track of the questions, and when I have several, I will direct them to whoever can best answer them. Once we have heard from members of the public, I will ask members of council if they have any questions or comments. It should also be noted that a comprehensive report will be prepared and presented to a future general committee meeting assessing the merits of the application before us and providing council with a recommendation for consideration. It is very important that the town receive the correct names and addresses of individuals having an interest in the planning applications. Therefore, if you plan to speak to council at this meeting, or if you want to be notified of any further council or committee meetings concerning the applications being considered, you must complete one of the green interested party forms and give it to our committee secretary sitting at the front. And Linda has one of those right there. Okay, under the Planning Act, the applicant or residents have the right to appeal any decision of council on a planning application to the Ontario Municipal Board. But you must verbally express any comments or concerns here tonight, or submit any comments or concerns in writing to the town prior to council adopting an amendment. The Ontario Municipal Board may dismiss all or part of an appeal made in respect of an application. This public meeting is being audio and video recorded. Your name, address, comments, and any other personal information are being recorded according to the Municipal Act and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This will help our town clerk prepare accurate minutes and to create a record that is available to the general public, including the town's website. Questions about this collection should be directed to the town clerk, Town of Aurora. I will now ask the town clerk to confirm that notification to the public occurred as required by the Planning Act.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Respecting item 1, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, Laura Kai, Jun Gong, and Richard Gong, 15342 Yonge Street, Horton Place, file number ZBA 2015-16, and related file number SP 2015-10. On February 4th, 2016, a notice of public planning meeting was published in the Aurora and Aurora Banner newspapers and given by mail to all addressed property owners within a minimum of 120 meters of the subject lands. Notice of public planning meeting signs were also posted on Yonge Street and Irwin Avenue. Respecting item number 2, applications for official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment, 2283986 Ontario Limited, 15255 Leslie Street and 1540 Wellington Street East, file numbers OPA 2015-06 and ZBA 2015-17. On February 4th, 2016, a notice of public planning meeting was published in the Aurora and Aurora Banner newspapers and given by mail to all addressed property owners within a minimum of 120 meters of the subject lands. Notice of the public planning meeting signs were also posted on the subject lands fronting on Wellington Street East and Leslie Street. Public meeting notification for both items 1 and 2 has been provided in accordance with the Planning Act.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And now I will ask the Director of Planning and Development Services to begin with the presentations. Mr. Bermuno.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jeff Healy, our planner, will provide a presentation with a brief overview of the first application, Horton Place, and I see that the owners and their planning consultants for both applications are here this evening. Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. Ramuno, and good evening, Mr. Chair and members of council. Tonight's proposed application is a zoning bylaw amendment application at 15342 Yonge Street. It's also known as the Horton Place. So the application tonight is a rezoning application for the subject lands. The current zoning is a special mixed density residential R5 zone, and the applicants are proposing to create an exception zone to allow a business and professional office use as an additional use in addition to the existing zoning uses on the lands today. A site plan application has also been submitted with the zoning bylaw amendment application showing a proposed parking lot to the north and the south of the existing building. And the existing access onto Yonge Street is proposed to be maintained. So location map for you, as you can see, the building's located on the north west corner of Yonge Street and Irwin Avenue. You can see the existing Catholic church to the east and existing residential uses to the west and to the north. So the official plan has the property designated as Aurora Promenade downtown shoulder area. And the downtown shoulder area encourages a number of uses, including specialty shops, offices, restaurants, and additional residential uses. And in addition, the proposed use does conform to the official plan. The official plan map here shows the official plan of the town, showing the lands within the downtown shoulder area, and to the south is located within the upper downtown area, and to the west is a mix of public parkland and private parkland official plan designations. So the zoning bylaw, again, it allows for a special mixed density, R5, which allows for detached, semi-detached, duplexes, triplexes, double duplexes, and converted dwelling uses. So it's a wide range of residential uses. And the applicant is looking to add a business professional office in addition to those existing uses. This is a map of the zoning. You can see, again, to the east, you can see, and the church is an institutional zoning. To the south, you can see a commercial C2 zoning. And to the west is a mix of environmental protection and residential 5 special mixed density zoning as well. To the north, you'll see a zoning for townhomes, which was previously approved by council back in 2009. I also want to mention, too, the importance of the property given the designation of the Ontario Heritage Act. The property is actually designated under Parts 4 and 5 of the Ontario Heritage Act, which is a bit unique within the town. It's known also as the Horton Place. Within the district plan, this property is identified as a high-value heritage property. So there are elements to the property which require the building to be maintained within the policies of the district plan. And the existing, as part of the proposal, the existing heritage building is to remain. There is an existing carriage house also located on the site, and this was previously approved by council to be relocated to the Hillary House, 2 properties to the north. And some preliminary comments that staff have, through a preliminary review of the application, is to assess the appropriateness of the proposed office use in consideration to the existing residential uses. Reviewing the application in conformity to the Northeast Old Aurora Heritage Conservation District Plan. Third is to ensure appropriate parking, maneuvering, and vehicular access to the property. Also a review of landscaping, screening, and tree planting on the property as well. And finally, to review the parking layout and the grading aspects of the lands as part of the site plan application. This is the proposed site plan that's been provided by the applicant, and so you can see here The existing house is to be maintained, and you can see the proposed driveway that's running around the entirety of the structure. So you'll see 3 parking spaces that are proposed to the north and 8 parking spaces proposed to the south, which would bring to a total of 11 parking spaces on the property. You can see the also a little bit of just work on the steps leading up to the Horton Place as well, facing onto Yonge Street. You'll also note that the existing barn is, or the carriage house, I should say, has been removed from the site plan. And this is a photo of the property at Horton Place. And just to give council a bit of history on this property, it was constructed back in 1875. It was constructed by Dr. Albert Robinson, who actually was a former dentist within the community. And I would like to emphasize that this home is one of the last and best examples of Italianate architecture within the town of Aurora. And then you'll see here in this photo is the carriage house, which was also constructed in 1875. And that was actually used for Dr. Robinson's livestock and horses and the various farm uses that he had on the property at the time. And so the carriage house, as I previously mentioned, has been approved to be relocated to the Hillary House for future conservation uses. And finally, staff will undertake a technical review of the subject application addressing the outlying matters, as well as the comments received from the public and council raised at tonight's public planning meeting. And we will provide a comprehensive report to General Committee in the future, identifying all comments that have been raised tonight at tonight's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Would the applicant's planner like to come to the podium, please? If I could have your microphone on, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes. Jeff did a very good, thorough presentation, so there'll be a little duplication, so I'm going to skip over the items that have already been addressed, but I'm free to answer any questions on those throughout the presentation. Laura Kai, her husband, and her son have made an application to the town to rezone the property to permit the offices. Laura has an insurance business which is located in Richmond Hill, and she wants to permanently settle in a property that she owns in Aurora and have the insurance business moved to here. As you know, the property is a relatively large property at about 32,000 square feet, located at Yonge and Irwin. And the intent is to renovate and retain the existing house for the office purpose. This is the front Yonge Street frontage, as pretty much similar to the photo you saw from Mr. Healy. And this is the view from the corner of Irwin and Yonge Street. And this is the view from Irwin Avenue. Obviously, the pictures were taken in the summer. The property is currently serviced with municipal water, sanitary, and storm sewers. It's well serviced by public transit, being on Yonge Street. And a small portion of the rear of the property is subject to the regulations of the Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority. However, no development is contemplated within that area. This is an aerial with photograph. I think the one Mr. Healy showed you was probably taken in the fall or winter. This one was taken in the summer. It looks a little more green. The zoning and site plan approval that's been filed is to retain the existing residential building, as has been said. While the historical integrity of that building is being maintained, repairs and renovations to the exterior are required to both clean up, repair, and replace certain parts of the building that have deteriorated due to neglect over the years, including things like deck boards, wood soffits, and shutters, as well as some of the brickwork. The majority, though, of the renovations to the existing building will be internal and relate to the conversion of the dwelling to office use and the associated client and employee facilities. When Mrs. Kai bought the property, she realized that there was some relatively emergency type work that needed to be done to improve the waterproofing of the foundation, and that work has been undertaken with the assistance of the town's building department, and work is ongoing in that regard, and basically leaving only the more of the cosmetic type of exterior work that needs to be done. And I'll show you some photos of the type of things that might have to be repaired as we move forward. The interior of the building will be configured to have 3 offices and a lunchroom on the ground floor, with 2 offices on the upper floor, and also on the ground floor there'll be a reception area. Altogether, the office space would comprise slightly over 3,000 square feet. The site plan itself, external to the building, the property currently shows significant signs of not being maintained, with the decline in the built infrastructure around the house, overgrown vegetation, deteriorating fencing and pathways, uneven and broken driveway. Improvements will include replanting hedges at the front of the property, refinishing and reinstalling the iron fence along Yonge Street, the property line, and rebuilding the driveway. The existing building, as indicated, Mr. Healy, is being extended around the rear of the dwelling with an additional parking area of 8 spaces to be constructed. Most of that is over where the old swimming pool used to be. A small parking area of 3 vehicles is proposed on the north side of the existing driveway. In total, 11 parking spaces are proposed. The parking areas are all located in side yards away from street frontage and are to be well screened to minimize views. The majority of the trees and vegetation on the site will be preserved. As indicated, the existing carriage house or barn is to be disassembled and relocated north of the Hillary House. I believe a meeting has been scheduled for March 3rd with the Aurora Historical to look over that and to start that process. The existing swimming pool, as indicated, is being removed and backfilled. And as I indicated previously, all works are being done outside the conservation regulated area. And looking at the site plan that you see here, and it'll become more apparent when I show you the landscape plan shortly, the westerly portion of the property is being left untouched. You'll see those 2 thick parallel lines that run squiggly through the back there. That's a sloped area, and to the west of that is the regulated conservation area. That area is to be left untouched, although my client will be doing some additional plantings. We've talked to the Conservation Authority, and they've indicated their willingness to allow additional plantings in that area to enhance that particular environmental aspect. To the south of the proposed parking area, all of that is an existing vegetated area, and it will be remaining. That Irwin frontage will be remaining. However, there'll be some cleanup of the shrubbery and some of the. If you'll see a picture shortly, which shows that some of the shrubbery along Irwin is it needs a little bit of manicuring, I should say, and some trimming. And all that, by the way, will be done under the auspices of a landscape architect. As part of this application process, our client has retained a design team to manage all aspects and address all aspects of the application, including stormwater management, floodplain mapping analysis, tree inventory and preservation, environmental impact, geotechnical investigation, including the retaining wall design and the slope stability analysis, Stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment, Phase 1 environmental site assessment, site circulation, and parking review. These studies support the proposed use and are intended to assist staff in evaluating the proposed rezoning and coming forward with the appropriate recommendation to council. One of the key components and one where a great deal of effort has been put in is the landscaping. A landscape architect and an arborist have both been retained to advise and manage the implementation of the landscaping scheme and to assist in the preservation of trees both during and after construction. It is proposed that many, in fact most of the existing trees located around the perimeter of the property will be maintained. For any significant trees that must be removed for construction purposes or due to deteriorating health or disease, tree compensation or replacement will be undertaken in accordance with the town policies and implemented through the site plan approval process. And I would also add to that my client has a passion for replacement as opposed to compensation. She's anxious to put trees wherever possible and wherever there'll be assistance to making the site improved. Additional landscaping is proposed to screen the parking area from the adjacent properties and to enhance the Yonge Street streetscape. The landscape design is intended to provide a high-quality look to the site from both Yonge Street and Irwin, and to help accentuate and restore the prominence of the enhanced Horton House. A direct pedestrian linkage is proposed from the main building entrance to the public sidewalk, and transit opportunities along Yonge Street. Decorative permeable pavers will be used in the driveway to help maintain the historical nature of the site while also enhancing on-site infiltration of water. This is the conceptual landscape plan. A detailed version of this conceptual landscape plan will be submitted, a second draft of that will be submitted shortly to the town, which identifies in detail how this will be implemented. As you can see, the intention is to retain and enhance a great deal of the landscaping, particularly where the views and vistas of adjacent residential properties are concerned, and as well as to enhance and to restore the prominence of the Yonge Street facade of the building. A number of photographs I'm going to show you now, and hopefully they're clear. I'm not sure they're clear from the screen themselves, but if you look at some of the building itself is relatively in good structural condition. You don't see too much damage to it, but there's missing and there's damaged shutters here and there. There's some entrance doors that have to be fixed, and you can see that the site around the building itself needs a great deal of work. There's some disconnected eaves and things that need to be repaired, and some need more work than others. And this is a view of the east face of the dwelling. The porch area obviously needs a little bit of work. This is the view of the south face of the dwelling, and you can see the relatively attractive, what's referred to as the Italianate architecture. Some fascinating work that was done here in the original detail. And my client has a real passion for this building and really wants to restore it, and I mean, it's a business venture, but it's also a passion of hers to make this building something that her firm can be proud of. This is a westerly face of the building, and that's an extension of the westerly face of the building. I don't know if it's obvious to you, but there's disconnected eaves there, and there's a little bit of trouble with some of the downspout as well. This is the view of the carriage house that's going to be relocated. And we've been through with Mr. Healy the zoning and the official plan. My client, in purchasing the property, has already put a substantial amount of money to show her commitment to this property. I think something in the order of $350,000 has already been spent to stop any damage that was occurring through water damage and other things, and to get the building ready for its rebirth. The existing historical dwelling for office uses complies with all provincial, regional, conservation authority, and town policies. The Horton Place structure and surroundings are going to be retained and preserved and enhanced, as I've indicated. The alterations to the property are relatively minor in nature and don't impact the heritage value of this or other adjacent properties. This adaptive reuse of the building will restore the building to one of its original uses, which was an office use at one time for the dentist. The active use of this site will ensure ongoing upkeep and maintenance that will lengthen the life of the heritage building, and the proposed site plan design, along with the appropriate screening, will ensure that office use can operate with no adverse impacts on neighboring properties and be compatible with the surrounding land uses. In our submission, Council, this rezoning application for the proposed office is inappropriate in all respects, and we look forward to having the opportunity of working with Council and staff through the next phases of the site plan approval if Council sees fit to approve this application. I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Friedman. I think what we'll do next, if you don't mind, we'll see if there's anyone from the public that wishes to come to comment or have any questions. Mr. Clerk, seeing none, I will conclude that portion of our meeting, and we'll go to, well, number 4 is no response to the questions, so we will conclude this portion of the planning meeting and go to council. We will ask for the questions. I'm just closing the public part, participation. Did you want to come up? Now's your time, sir.
I think it's been clarified
Please step forward and state your name and address,
members,
please.
Sorry?
State your name and address, please.
Yeah, just about to. Good evening, council members. My name is Hugh Walker. I'm a resident of Matchell Avenue. I own property on Matchell Avenue. And I just had a couple of quick questions. The first one, I think it's been addressed now, and that was, it wasn't very clear in the documentation I reviewed on the town website. And that was concerning the uses of the property, because it was R5-X. And I just wanted to find out, so there's no residential on the property at all, it's now going to be offices. I believe that's my question, really, and that's, I think, been answered. It seemed to be the case. Fair enough. No. It's a lovely building, and it would be nice to maintain it in the state it is, and it seems that the developers and the owner are proposing to do that, so I wish them all the best, and I would like them also to maintain as many of the trees as possible, because it's a combination. It's not a building, it's a property, trees, and a building. And as far as I'm concerned, that's it, and I wish them all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So there's anyone else would like to come from the public? Mr. Friedman, would you want to respond to those, or should I ask? There were just two points raised. One was the uses, and that's the rezoning. Perhaps our staff will answer that. And the trees, I thought you went into great depth.
Yeah,
Thank you
through
very
you, Mr. Chair. It's a single use, the insurance business for my client. And the trees are being preserved.
Thank you. Okay. So now I will open it up, Mr. Friedman, to council for questions of the applicant. I'll start. Comments? Councillor Thompson?
Thank you. Just one question of the applicant. In looking at be it the landscape plan or the site plan, given that it's going to be a commercial use, I didn't see any indication of where potentially a sign would go. Has there been given any thought to exterior signage to promote the business, and if so, any thought about where you would be putting it on the property?
One moment.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Perhaps Mr. Ramuno, you might be able to help us. Oh, I see, Mr.
Okay. The answer to that question is the sign location specifically hasn't been considered yet. My client's indicated a willingness to work with the town on a proper location, and whatever the town bylaw permits, that will be the sign location. But it'll come out through the site plan approval process.
And that's fine. I was just curious to see whether it was contemplated
through
or not.
the next design submission. I think that will be addressed.
Thank you.
Councillor Humphreys? Councillor Tom, Councillor Maracas at the end? Okay.
Dear Mr. Chair, I really don't have any questions other than I'm so thrilled and honored that you want to restore that beautiful historical building, one of our last remaining gems. And we were all very anxious. This council was anxious about what was going to happen and what would people want to do. And what you're doing is just magnificent. There's my mother-in-law, who is, I won't say her age because she'd kill me, but she had a friend who lived there, and her son sold it to, I believe, yourselves. And she visited that house often and loved it, used to go by, and I can't wait to show her what you do with it, and hopefully she'll come and have a tour of your place. But I just want to say thank you for doing that, and I'm really excited about having your business come to our town. We're honored about that too, and encouraged to get our downtown, it's part of our downtown core promenade area to be revitalized, and what you're doing is going to help do that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much for coming forward. I'll be brief. My comments echo Councillor Humphreys. I just wanted to say that I'm appreciative of what you guys are doing with the property, and I just wanted to stress that this is a treasure of our heritage in Aurora, and it's a landmark really in town, and so I'm excited that it's going to get a bit of refurbishment, a little bit of elbow grease, and that it's going to be put to good use. So, but I do want to stress that this is a treasure, so hopefully you guys will treat it well, and I'm sure you will. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Maracas? Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll echo the statements. I'd like to commend the owners of the building for taking the time, the effort, and putting in a great deal of money into restoring, as Councillor Tom mentioned, this gem of Aurora. We all know that anything of historical significance is extremely important to the town of Aurora, and we do whatever we can to try to save anything that is of that historical significance. So I'm glad to see what you're doing. This is great, and it'll be great to see the building in all its original glory at some point. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Gardner?
I also would like to thank you. I've already thanked you when you came to the Heritage Advisory Committee, and it's just really so special that you see this as special and want to help us preserve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. If there are no further questions or comments, we have a motion. Could I have a motion? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Maracas seconded. Comments, questions on the motion? Seeing Councillor Gardner.
Allowed to speak to the item now?
Sure.
Thank you. I'd like to know, it's the owner proposes to convert the existing building, which was formerly a residence, to allow business and professional offices. So if we convert it to this zoning, can it also at some point be still used as a residence if that was desired?
I'll ask Mr. Ramuno.
Certainly. Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, and typically what we do with these R5 exception zones is we allow the residential use to continue, but we add the specific use, in this case being the office use. What we've heard from the applicant is their intention, but we can continue to have those discussions, is strictly to permit the use of the building for an office use. But moving forward, we'll have the discussion if they desire the residential use to maintain. We can certainly do that. We've done that elsewhere along our Wellington corridor.
Thank you. And so what you're saying is it could operate as a business and as a residence at the same time?
Correct.
Thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Certainly I'm supportive. I think, we've always, not always, there have been some concern about this site since it went up for sale, about what the potential use would be and what the impact. I think this is a great situation where we have a business owner from another community who's choosing to move to Aurora. I certainly love that aspect, and the fact that they're shown such desire to preserve the site is great. My only question is whether or not the Regions had any comments about the fact that now there'll be more traffic exiting out onto Yonge Street or not.
Well, Mr. Ramuno.
Certainly, through you, Mr. Chairman. We've circulated to the region, but I don't believe we received comments, or if I can ask Jeff, have they provided comments at this point?
Jeff?
Through you, Mr. Chair. This road is, this portion of Yonge Street's currently run by or operated by the town. Comments with regards to traffic come through our traffic analyst, and at least the comments from our traffic analyst haven't found any concerns to this point for traffic on from this proposal. Thank you.
Great, that's even better. I know in some other applications there's been some challenges when we've had to go to the region exiting onto Yonge Street, so glad to hear that.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions? Seeing none, I will call a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you very much. We wish you the best of luck. It's a great application. All right, Council, we'll move to item 2, and we'll ask Glenn Ledman to come up and speak. Mr. Planner, thank you. First of all, welcome back, Glenn. It's been a while.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of Council, thank you. The second item being considered tonight is a proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendment. Thank you. As submitted by 2283986 Ontario Limited, municipal address 15255 Leslie Street and 1540 Wellington Street East, OPA 2015-06 and ZBA 2015-17. The proposal is 2 items: an official plan amendment to permit a wider range of commercial uses on the subject lands. Currently, the limitation for retail uses must be associated with a hotel or office building, as currently required by the business park designation of official plan amendment number 30. This would apply to the easterly half of the property, approximately 0.46 hectares in area. The second component of the official or of the public meeting this evening is to consider a zoning bylaw amendment over the entire land holdings, which would harmonize the two existing commercial exception zones to expand the commercial uses that are permitted within the current C3 parent zone. The easterly lands are currently zone C3. I'll get into that. C3-1, which is a site-specific zone, and the westerly portion is zone C3-18. As I mentioned, the applicant proposes to harmonize those into a single use. Outlined here is are the subject lands shown in red. The general location of the property is northeast corner of Leslie and Wellington Street East. There's approximately 164 meters on Wellington Street and 50 meters on Leslie Street. There's currently 2 points of access, one onto Leslie Street and one onto Wellington Street proposed for this, which exist for the subject lands. The lands on the west side, there's a Shell station, and at the southeast corner, there is, the west side is the Esso station, the south side is the Shell station. To the north of this and behind a retaining wall are lands owned by smart centers. There's a physical separation of these lands from the remainder of the parcel. As I mentioned, the westerly portion of the subject lands are designated as community commercial, and the easterly portion of the subject lands, subject to the official plan amendment, are designated as business park within the Bayview Northwest 2B secondary plan area. Official plan amendment number 30, which was approved in March 2000. The specific amendment to the official plan required is section 352C, which states that a limited retail sales and service commercial uses may be permitted as part of a hotel, motel, or an office building. The applicant is proposing to clarify that so there's no question about the allowance of a broader range of commercial uses, not proposing to change the designation from the business park, retaining that, just allowing a broader range of uses. York Region has considered the application in the context of whether there's any regional implications. The region's official plan is not considered to be impacted by the change to this local official plan. As such, it's a local matter, and based on the comments received from the regional is exempted from further regional approval by the region. This is a map showing the official plan designation of the property in red. Easterly is the business park designation. The area to the northeast is also designated business park, but the underlying permissions are also for a regional commercial center. The area directly to the west and to the south are also designated community commercial, and the westerly portion of the subject lands are designated community commercial. No changes are proposed by the official plan for that, as I mentioned. The applicant proposes to maintain the existing business park designation as I identified, but to allow a broader range of retail type uses without having to be ancillary to a office or hotel. This is a map showing the lands to which the site-specific policy area would apply, which would be to the east. The entire area is shown in heavy outline. From a zoning bylaw perspective, the westerly portion of the subject lands is currently zone C318, which was recently approved by council in December 2013. The C3, I'm sorry, it was approved by council in June of 2013. The C318 exception zone had a limitation on the types of uses that could be permitted on the property. The lands were previously zoned rural, but were zoned to reflect the official plan designation to allow an automotive service station, car wash, convenience store, and gasoline bar. There's also a Mr. Lube on the property. The easterly portion of the lands, which are the lands primarily subject to the harmonization of the zoning, are currently zoned C31, which dates back to the initiation of the comprehensive zoning bylaw. The C31 exception zone zoning on the lands is quite specific to its uses and has a range of uses that is further identified in the zoning bylaw, or pardon me, in the staff report, but allows uses such as animal hospitals, kennels, antique shops, automotive service stations, convenience retail, farm implement dealerships, gasoline bars, garden and nursery sales, and supply establishment, including a commercial greenhouse. The map you see on the screen is the existing zoning map, and the area shown and shaded would be the area subject to the entire zoning bylaw amendment proposed by the applicant. The proposed zoning would, as I mentioned earlier, harmonize the two existing exception zones from the C318 and the C31 into a new exception zone, so the entire property would be governed by one zoning provision and not two, and would allow the applicant to expand the commercial and retail uses on both the westerly and the easterly portion of the subject lands in conformity with the policies of the official plan amendment that's also proposed. This shows a map as to how the lands would show under a harmonized zoning. Exception zone obviously hasn't been identified yet. The preliminary comments, we will have to give consideration to the subject application relative to the existing and future and surrounding land uses and the appropriate provisions of the official plan and the zoning bylaw amendments. We'll be giving consideration to the full range of uses that have been identified or requested by the applicant. Those have to be given consideration, and the consideration of the town's official plan policies for business park with respect to the expansion of existing retail uses. And in conclusion, Mr. Chair, staff will undertake a technical review of the subject application addressing the outlined matters as well as comments received from the public this evening and council at this meeting, and a report will be prepared for council's consideration at a future GC meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Is the applicant's planner here? Okay.
Good evening, Chair and members of Council. My name is Jennifer Maestri. I'm with KLM Planning Partners, and we represent the owners of the land on the northeast corner of Wellington Street East and Leslie Street. My comments tonight are just going to be brief, as the summary presented by staff was fairly accurate and of summarizing our minor official plan amendment and minor zoning bylaw application. So I would just like to reiterate a couple of points. Our client has an approved site plan application on the subject lands to construct a gasoline bar, a car wash, an automotive service station, and a multi-tenant building. So currently there's a gasoline bar, car wash, and Mr. Lube service station on the site, which have all been built in accordance with the site plan. So the multi-tenant building remains undeveloped as our client has had difficulties securing tenants for the site due to the limited range of commercial uses permitted in the current zoning. The subject applications are intended to add additional uses which will attract tenants and encourage the build-out of the remainder 334 square meters in accordance with the site plan. The business park designation on the subject lands is a remnant of an official plan amendment that redesignated the Smart Centers lands from business park to business park regional commercial. The only additional uses being requested at this time that do not conform to the existing official plan are the retail store and personal service shop uses. In fact, these uses are permitted, but they're required as part of a hotel or an office building. The remnant designation consists of only 0.4 hectares, and in isolation does not result in a sufficient site to accommodate an office building, a hotel, or industrial uses. And in part, this has led to these applications. So I'm happy to answer any questions on the proposed application, and thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you very much. Normally at this portion, we ask members from the public to come forth, and I don't see any, so we will bypass that. And we will go and conclude and close that section, and we'll go to council if there are any questions or comments to the applicant. So if you don't mind staying. Councillor Marakis and then Councillor Humphreys.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the proponent. I'm just wondering, one of the allowable exceptions if we change the zoning is I noticed this for a drive-through, and I understand that no site plan has been or formalized or anything yet, but is there any intention of allowing for a drive-through?
No, not at this time, no. If we were to propose a drive-through, we'd have to come back and amend the site plan application. But at this time, there aren't any proposals for a drive-through.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Humphreys.
Thank you, through Mr. Chair. Just two things. One question. So the ask for this evening is the owners having some problems getting tenants in order to build and have commitment that people will be in there and run their business. Is that the main reason?
Correct.
The challenges?
Yes.
Okay. And just as a comment, it's not an easy site to get to, so I understand why you have to try to elaborate and get some more zoning leniency, because you go there when I can, but it's not easy to, like if you're coming down Leslie, it's not an easy site. And it's built, so you want to have people attracted to go there. So I've actually been thinking about, I actually used Mr. Liu because I had some problems with my car, and I thought, what are they going to do with the rest of this place? And then I saw your application come forward. So I'm looking forward to helping wherever we can to completely have the owner develop what they need in order to get the place filled, completed, and utilized at its fullest potential. And I can't see a drive-through going there because I don't think you get anybody trying to do it. So, but thanks for coming to.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much. It was mentioned that this was initially approved back in 2013, and so in looking at what was presented to us in 2013, that the multi-tenant building you spoke of was attached to the Mr. Liu building and showed it's a 7,000 square foot building, essentially 3 units of 2,200, 2,300 square feet each. Is that still what will go forward? Essentially, I guess the intent of the building or the look of the building will still be the same. You're just looking for the additional uses because as you've gone out to the market in the last couple of years, you've had struggles finding the tenants for it.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
So it may be helpful to members of council to put that up there. I don't know if staff don't have it. I do have it on my iPad. I could show what the commercial building.
I think it's just up on the screen now.
Perfect.
That was pretty quick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any other questions? Councillor Marakis, I see your mic on. I don't know if that means you're poised or... No. I don't see any other questions coming forward, so we'll close this portion, and I'll see if we can put a motion on the floor. Councillor Marakis, seconded by Councillor Thompson. I'm sorry, I just keep looking this way.
We're encouraging your business to be like over there.
I'll get you to do the adjournment. Any comments or questions on the application or on the motion forward? Councillor Marakis? Councillor Gardner?
Thank you, Chair. I guess I just like through you to Mr. Ramuno. If there is a drive-through to be built there, would that have to come back to us, or by us approving this would that need not to come back to us? I'm just curious about that aspect.
Mr. Ramuno, please.
Certainly, through you, Mr. Chair. When we report back on the report on the OP and zoning applications, we'll identify the specific uses. But as we've heard from the applicant, they want to maintain the original site plan approval that's on the screen. So if they do propose a drive-through, we will have to come back to council at the very least to amend the site plan and deal with the on-site circulation and stacking lanes if that's proposed.
Councillor?
Thank you. I guess just as a follow-up, but would it be difficult for us to turn down a drive-through at that point due to the fact that the zoning allows it?
Mr. Ramuno?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, if we come forward with a report and recommend approval of the drive-through, council still needs to approve the site plan. But yes, by approving the zoning bylaw with a drive-through use, you're approving that use. Okay. But again, we still need to deal with the site plan and physically being able to incorporate the drive-through on the lands attached to that building. But again, we'll certainly have a discussion, and we'll try and clarify that for council when we report back on the OPN zoning. Okay. So whether they actually want to include that drive-through use or not.
Definitely. So I'll look forward to that report. And I guess just as a quick comment, I mean, I know the issues with the ESSO on the other side. And when you go there and try to get a coffee through that drive-through, it gets backed up real bad, and you're almost out onto the street. So I can only imagine what would happen here if we tried if a drive-through got put in. So for me personally, I have no problem moving forward as long as there's no drive-through. So that's just my comment. So thank you.
That comment is acknowledged. Councillor Gardner, then Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Minow. Mr. Minow, at the very bottom, 3 up from the bottom, it says medical and dental laboratories. Does that mean medical offices and dental laboratories, or I'm not sure what a medical laboratory would be?
Mr. Romero?
Through you, Mr. Chair. This list of uses are taken from our existing uses permitted in our zoning bylaw under C3. I don't see medical clinic. We'll definitely clarify that as well when we report back with respect to whether we are going to recommend all these uses, and we'll clarify whether a medical laboratory would permit a medical clinic. Again, these are lists of uses from our current zoning bylaw, and as we know, it's a bylaw that dates back to the 70s. But we'll clarify those.
Councillor?
Thank you. Because through the years, the kind of businesses that we've had the most traffic problems with, parking problems with, have been restaurants, drive-throughs, commercial schools, and medical offices, because they all require a lot of parking, and I don't think there is a lot of parking on this site, and I don't think we want to create any kind of traffic congestion here. So I wasn't clear with what you said to Councilor Maracas. Is this something we should take out of the mix right now, these uses?
Mr. Ramuno?
So you, Mr. Chair, Council could provide that direction now, but if Council directs me to report back, we'll sit down with the applicant and we'll certainly, I've heard the comments, we'll certainly refine the uses before I report back to Council. We've heard that Council approved the site plan that's that's on the screen. Access to the site is constrained. The region did approve those 3 access points, 2 on the Wellington, 1 on Leslie Street, and they are restricted right in, right out movements. So it is a small and challenging site based on its configuration. So we did maximize the footprint of that multi-unit building originally. The applicant is really only interested in expanding the uses. We'll come back with a shortened and refined list of uses when we report
Thank you.
back.
And it's especially important because it's happened in the past that a property is sold after we've given the zoning permission, and we haven't specified what can't be on the site, and then we're in trouble. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Thompson.
Comments aside, already, I'm supportive of the application. They came to us in 2013. They said, this is what we want to do. They didn't want to make any exceptions at that time. They followed through and built the gas bar and Mr. Lube, and I believe that they've tried very hard to rent out the rest of the buildings. They've been unsuccessful, and that's why they're before us. And, we talk about supporting local business owners, and so be it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Humphreys?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree. I think, again, I've been very cognizant of looking around that area a lot. It's been a long time coming. The buildings seem to come up slowly. Anything to encourage this property continue development and encourage. I'm not worried about it. I'm not really worried about a drive-through either. I don't like that it's congested, but people have the choice to go there or not. I've never seen a problem on Wellington at all. I've just seen a problem when you're in the drive-through. So that happens. It happens in a great spot. It's in a residential area. I just want this owner to move forward quickly. So looking forward to getting it done.
Thank you, Councillor. Seeing no further questions, comments, I will call a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Mr. Clerk, I see no further items on the agenda. So, could I have a motion for the confirming bylaw? Councillor Humphreys. Seconded by Councillor Tom. Thank you. All those in favor? Confirming bylaw? That carries. Could I have a motion for adjournment? Councillor Humphreys and Councillor Tom. All those in favor? We have now closed. Thank you very much, staff.